Not only from school today, but so it's just kind of working because these folks see us work in real time, just like we're in the classroom. So thank you for yes, ma'am. There's a few little properties stairs and two little rides. Behind the one. And then we'll be first up, so that'll be in about 2 minutes. If you need to grab some, do that. And the rest of you can grab a seat. And we'll get started.
the instrument and in the choir and in the solo voice. For example, in the choral setting, if you guys are more conscious of empathy and you're looking at each other as you're singing, and you're conscious of how the air is not just producing a voice, but it's actually the spirit of the piece, and then you guys look at each other and lock eyes, that thing becomes a spirit, and all of you as a group begin to rise emotionally together, and that's what excites the audience. But if you're disconnected from one another, whether you're in an instrumental ensemble, you're in a vocal ensemble, or you're singing solo, if you're disconnected from your body, then the audience disconnects from you, because that's the role of empathy in the way they enjoy things. They feel things more than they hear and see. So one of the things we're going to touch on today is the awareness of how these things come together and how the language for teaching choir, teaching instrumental ensembles, and teaching solo voice, how much of that language is the same. And we hope to give you a new awareness to some of the things you see in here today, perhaps some tools that will better your own performing and teaching. Dr. Wayler?
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Thanks for everybody who's volunteered to help perform. I think I heard Parker talking to you guys that, and it's kind of a theme of the conference. Everything's not been overproduced and over-rehearsed. It's just about learning the learning process and doing that together. And hey, things aren't always perfect, and that's why we rehearse. So thank you so much for being here. USN students, you guys from, of course, Ag as well. It's really interesting how much vocal and the instrumental world have in common. So what we're going to do, we're going to end with is all of us performing something together, casually, informally, but to kind of connect what happens with our voices, with our air, with our hearts, as we perform music together as musicians. Not band people, choir people, vocal people, instrumental people, but as musicians.
Thank you. So let me introduce to you Andy Smigelski and Forest County Agricultural High School yes?
The Agabus.
Agabus, that's what it is. I got it wrong. And before the ladies come on stage, let me sort of share with you a little bit of a logistic and what you're going to see. I've worked several times with many of Mr. Smigelski's choirs, but never. Wait, did I work with these ladies one time? I did.
Not in this aesthetic.
Let's pretend like that didn't happen. So I haven't worked with these ladies. That's right. With the acapella group, I have not. So what you're going to see essentially this morning is an open masterclass. It's do those things we talk about have hopefully you're going to experience in action some of the things that we have talked about concerning empathy, concerning presence, concerning vocal technique, and all that good stuff. So I haven't worked with these ladies. They walked in just a few moments ago, and I told them this is going to be much like I was in their high school classroom. It just so happens that we invited all of you to sort of sit in as flies on the wall. At any point, it's a very relaxed session. At any point, if you have questions, why did you do that thing? Or, I hear this, why are you not talking about it? If any questions like that, please don't hesitate to pose those or ask those questions. So the way this will work, they have two selections for us today. They'll sing one, I'll work with them, do some coaching, all that good stuff, and then we'll help make some transfers into the second piece that we sing. So ladies, if you'll come to the stage, along with your director.
Oh, they don't need me.
They don't need you. Okay.
Be very careful, those stairs are
They're good.
make it all happen. So if you remember yesterday in our opening, why am I yelling? I'm yelling.
Actually, you need to talk up a
Do
little
I?
bit because we're filming.
Oh, I'm sorry. Then I shall continue.
Shall continue to yell.
What? We talked about the elements of visceral performance in our opening session, and the first one we started with was presence. So that's what I want to start with you ladies, is the idea of presence and performing on stage. So I'm going to layer on a couple of tasks. So the first thing I want you to think about is if you believe that what you are singing at any given time is the most important thing that's happening in the texture, I want you to step forward. You or your section. Now obviously, those of you who have the solos, you step forward because that's what we do in acapella singing, right? But when there's no solo going on, I want to know if you think one musical line is more important than the other, and there are no wrong answers. No wrong answers. Can you try that? From the beginning, and I'll stop you. More engaging for us because we got to watch that thinking process. So that's what we need to see the whole time. Like when we're doing this, all those layers, all the polyphony, all those things that are happening that are different but happening at the same time, they're not all of equal importance, right? I want to bring those forward. So the idea of presence on stage. Miss Solis, beginning Solis, tell me your first name. Cassidy. Cassidy, will you do this for me? Will you make sure that you engage the audience when you step forward for your solo? What do you think I mean by that?
I'm not sure.
Help Cassidy, audience, help Cassidy understand or what might help you engage with her as she steps forward for her solo. Ms. Stewart.
Step out a little more and pick somebody to make eye contact with. And you can pick more than one person, but if you're uncomfortable and a little nervous, just pick one person or right above their head. Focus on it. It kind of looks like you're looking at them.
Certainly, so we step out a little more and we make eye contact. Anything else? Go ahead, smile. Kendall, don't be afraid to move just a little bit. It's real easy for these people to tell you all these things because they don't have to do it, right? Yeah. So, and the other thing, talking about presence, is you're the first soloist in this really awesome piece, right? And so I want you to step out like you really are the diva in this moment, right? So here goes my solo, here comes my solo, kids, here comes my solo, and I'm singing, right? Can you own the stage a little bit more? Does that make sense? All right, so will you try? Here we go, from the beginning. Yep, yeah, right? I know, that's crazy, man. People like going down, right? Do you think you feel a little more confident, like your model walk? All right, try it. Here we go. What are you going to eat? So this is what I hear from the beginning. Don't be offended. I hear real southern, and then think more ladies that are doing the upper spread part, do you think more like a soloist? I feel like you're not giving me all the color of your voice because you're thinking of this as a choir and not this is your solo and these other ladies just happen to show up on the same day, right? I would encourage those of you I would encourage you to round that vowel just a little bit because if you don't, when we sing this somewhere else, somebody's gonna go, they're from Mississippi, right? Maybe not the expectation we want. Here we go. From the beginning again. Can you round it out just a little bit? And can you all be soloists? Stop. Did you hear the difference? Did you hear the difference? And it completely affects your perception of what you just heard. Because you expected, because this is, we're in South Mississippi, so that's what we do, right? I tell my girls, I tell my girls, I say, ladies, you sound like you're from Purpose. And the ones that are from Purpose get real upset about it every time I say it, right? You expected them to sound perhaps a little southern. And then we change that expectation, and now what happens over here is not so jarring, and the expectation and the reality match each other, and so we can continue this idea of visceralness or engagement in our performance. Can you try that one more time just to make sure it wasn't a fluke because I love it? I'm sorry, what's the answer to my question? Certainly, I would love Excellent. Now, still talking about expectations. When you get to this part right here, can you not forecast it? You don't have to forecast it? Because some of you are like, it's coming, here it is, right? Can we all right there, or right? Yes? And I think maybe a little even might help things that are going on there, right? Can you sell it more, basically? Some of you like this. Some of you are like, this is the coolest thing ever. And some of you are like, this is what right? Can you all sell it like actresses from the beginning?
together, particularly in the group dynamic, they can feel that. That's the ring affect. They can feel that thing. When they send the sound up, it doesn't turn it into classical. It's still the same style, but you're working with acoustics rather than against acoustics. And that is particularly powerful in the group dynamic. Now, here's the next thing to go with it. We're going to do it again. And instead of this, right here where your rib split, that's your heart center. Instead of doing the jive, what I want you to do is, when you would do this, I just want you to open your heart. That's all I want you to do. Step forward, you step forward on one leg, and you let the heart lead. Not the gesture, just the heart. So we try again. You understand what I'm asking for? Very good. When they do that, it slows down the airspeed, which affects pitch, the louder you sing, the worse pitch is. If all you did when you gestured, you went, well, up, step forward, and up your heart up, then the same thing we just did earlier with the up becomes present even in that dance groove. You guys get it? You get the difference immediately? And that empathetically is what the audience gets on board with. You're working with acoustics, and acoustics is something they can feel. They don't have to just listen, they can feel that thing. All right.
We got 6 minutes left. Can we move to the second piece? Move to the second piece. Step out and open up. 1 foot out as soon as you start. Try one time. Yeah, you can look at that.
2, 3, 4.
start back with some boys take right there. It's a F major chord, an F, an A, and a C. You start right there. Yeah, and this is what I want you to do. I want you to hug the tree that's out in front of you. Take your arms like this. Yes, yes. Maybe someone's doing that. Take your arms like this, right with some of you know you're about to use your leg too. Here we go. And you don't do it yet. You do it again. Okay, we start some boys. 2, ready, and we're supposed to be offbeat. 3, 4, there it is. Some boys, right? You play the play. I think you're gonna get it. 3, 4, 1.
Some boys take a beautiful girl and
Here we are. So we're going to set this. Yes. Got it? Now you know where we go. Now you know where I Hands up here. Right? It's really anemic. You know what I mean by anemic? It's lacking iron. Here we go. Here we go. Same thing. 3, 4, 1.
some boys take a beautiful girl
Sing it
and
forte. When you sing it forte, rub your hands and sing it forte. Loudest, most beautiful sound you have. 3, 4, 1.
some boys take a beautiful girl and
Thank you. Now, this time, put your hands out in front of you and raise one leg off the ground. Here we go. And 3, 4, 1.
some boys take a beautiful girl and hide away.
Thank you. Now, can you use that much breath energy and bring it back down to the soft dynamic right there? Make sense? Keep your hands up. Leg. Here we go. And 2, 4, 1.
Some boys take a beautiful girl and hide away from the rest of the world.
So you feel how hard you're working right here? Now, drop your hands, relax them, relax your feet, right? But see if you can continue to work that hard from right here. Try one more time. And 3, 4, 1.
Some boys take a beautiful girl and hide away from the rest of the world.
So when you work that hard with your core right there, the intonation gets better, the engagement with us gets better. It's really much, much better. Yeah.
One of the things, as instrumentalists, we say, I think of the idea of shouting and whisper. You know, like in church, when you're like, hey, you don't want to speak real loud, but it's got to have intensity. So that hey provides the intensity, but not the volume.
Right.
So, or the idea of it's a choir singing really powerful, but they're kind of in the distance. It's got to have the same intensity that you play or sing with at triple forte. It's just got to dynamically. So when you're engaging, you're doing on the chord, it's that idea of the intensity, but the dynamic is still really soft.
Yeah, right? So you still have that much energy, that much intensity, even though it's soft. This is what I want you to do. We'll finish with this, because I love the transfer you made between what Dr. Kyle told you in the first piece and stepping into the opening of the second piece. So you do that one more time. Let's make sure it wasn't a fluke, that we actually learned something, yes? So start the piece again. I want you to step into it like Dr. Kyle showed you. I would love for the consistency of the sound to match the consistency of the facial expression. So right now what I see is when you have the solo line or when you have the text and you're not doo-wopping, right? When you're doo-wopping, I get a little bit of this, like doo-wop. Oh, it's my turn here, right? You don't ever leave the stage just because you're not singing the solo line at that moment, right? And that's how we all stay engaged with all of you. We don't want to be engaged with only the ladies who have the solo in that moment. We want to be engaged with every single one. Thank you very much for coming. And thank you, Andy. Thank you very much for your pleasant contribution.
And so, as they transition off stage, so many things that we do in instrumental world the end of the day, great orchestras and great choirs sing all the time. Sometimes I walk into band halls, orchestra halls, where people are singing. And that's great. They're singing their parts. They're singing their march. Dom, dom, da, 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 ta, 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 ba, 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 ba. But the sound quality by singing is more rhythmically driven than beauty driven, than tone driven. So right now, Dr. Kyle said, Dr. I need you to do this. She would address the quality of the sound, not the rhythm, not the pitch. That's pretty good, I hope. So she might say, round vowel sounds. You heard her say that, or Dr. Parker say that? I just need the O to be what? What was the word they used? Rounder. Do, 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 is this shape. Do, yeah. Do, 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 do. If your band sings that way, they'll play that way. Because of what happens in your face. What happens with your esophagus and your soft palate, tongue, and all that. So we're going to link some today, vocal pedagogy, with how we should sing and how that makes us respond as band players. So I would please welcome undergraduate music and major saxophonist Kevin Davenport, who's going to demonstrate some stuff. And how cool is this? The band instrumental person is not going to do the clinic. A vocal person is going to do the clinic. So Kevin's prepared to play any kind of thing you want to do straight whole notes, long notes, whatever. The upper pitches.
Play for me when you start your scales in the morning. Play something for me, and we'll leave this as a harmonics team.
I guess just like that.
Yeah, just play. Just
Yeah.
play. Just whatever you do when you walk in the fraction first thing in the morning,
No.
other than drink coffee. Good. Do it one more time. And I'm going to ask you to get a little sexy for me. Can you unbutton that top button of your shirt? Hang on one second. Excellent. Now turn aside. I want them to see the same thing again. I want you to watch something. Don't watch his embouchure. Watch. It's the thing girls and solo singing girls do. I want to do the same thing. This is what I want you to watch. I want you to watch what changes take place between his earlobe and his collarbone as he moves from the mid voice of the saxophone up into the higher pitch. One of the first things you'll notice, particularly the more aware you get of this, and we were talking about this in the opening session, is that as he heads into the higher pitches, you see the space begin to shorten like this. What you see in the front is this. Ba-da-da-da. Eyeballs and eyebrows. But if you're looking very closely here, what you'll see is that this, as he moves higher, shortens. That's because his vocal folds are approximating pitch, even though he's playing an instrument that's external to his larynx. So what happens as the voice moves higher in every voice type is the larynx lifts and tilts forward. That's what you're seeing. Now play this weird, yeah, the weird But in all actuality, because it's missing that particular feeling, which is the feeling of ring, it will be usually on the bottom side of the pitch as I move higher. With him, as he plays the note, he says something important. He said he thinks the note, which is what we all do. We think the note, we know the pitches in our mind, and as we breathe in, whether he's playing an instrument or whether you're singing, as you breathe in, your larynx goes to the position it's going to be in for that pitch. What that's doing in an instrumentalist is it's changing the shape of his pharyngeal tube, and as he plays higher, the larynx lifts, tilts forward, the tube gets shorter. If suddenly, blessed Kevin, decides to get really tight in his neck and tighten up his jaw to the point where he's going, as that larynx lifts, not only is the tube getting shorter, but it's getting wider. And that's going to change the way he feels pressure in his head, and probably not to his advantage. It's going to build tension in the body in a negative way. That's because it's going to affect the airspeed. But if as he moves higher, he can concentrate on the rise in pressure. Follow me here for a minute. We start listening like a lot. But we forget that there are sensations of pressure when we sing and when we play instruments that we can focus on and keep feeling and enhancing that, and it'll actually improve the quality of our playing and our singing and not change the shape of the water slide in the process. Now I'm going to do one bodily thing, and then, yes, sir?
So just real quickly, just for everybody who's not an instrumentalist, his saxophone's not producing any of that. His face, his throat, his air is just like a vocalist. The saxophone is simply amplifying what's going on back in here, just like a vocalist. So what he's doing is really, really hard. And just like a vocalist, these changes, I always make this joke. So this is the shape of the oral cavity for one note. This is it for the next note, the next note, the next note. Some of those changes are so tiny we can hardly see or feel them. And that's why the finesse in singing, the finesse in playing difficult wind passages, string passages, is all about this fine muscle control and understanding what mechanisms are moving. So I'm going to feel
That's perfect. Now here's what I'm going to do next before I get to his body performance. I'm going to ask him to turn and play the same set of high squeaky things that he just did that were actually beautiful. That's all I know to call them because I'm not a saxophonist. But I'm going to ask him to model the posture he sees in me. So I want you to start facing me first. Play them like you would normally play them. You are injured, they feel the same. But if you have an awareness of how that pressure feels in terms of the air pressure and in singing it's resonance pressure, then when you do this, you'll feel the pressure change locations. It'll go from wherever you feel it back in front. Singers often feel it on the heart palate to here. Now do it again, and this time, so they can see, do it as you do normally. He's watching me, I'm just standing here the first time just doing this. And he's modeling that back to this. Your gestures and your modeling elicit a stronger response than anything that comes out of your mouth. Believe it. So you need to be aware, even if you are not, you're a percussionist and you're going to lead a band. You don't think about breath, not 1 minute. You better start breathing with them because then they're going to hold their air and start doing this sort of thing. I'm going to do one more thing. I want you to play the same scale, and all I'm going to do is apply that sound pressure with that big movement. So play the first scale. Okay?
So there are pitches or
Mm-hmm. like this all day long. The higher he sings and the more athletic or loud he sings, he's going to keep going this way. As he does, his water slide is now changing shape. If his head's forward, that's the shape of his water slide. He needs airspeed, particularly the higher he goes. All I did was take my thumb and my forefingers, and I press down on the muscles here just to get a stretch. But I do it straight down rather than together, because that's going to make all the air come out too fast. As I make it come down, his head comes back over his body, the pharynx elongates, his air speeds up, and the sound in the instrument pops out in front of him a little further. And that's something he can learn to feel. And if he's going to be a lifetime saxophone player, he needs to deal with his body as much as he deals with his lungs. He's got to deal with his front back body as well, because that supports the activity.
As these guys transition on stage, please. Thank you, Kevin. Now listen to talk real quickly about sound. When a vocalist sings, what you're actually hearing, and when an instrumentalist plays, what they're actually hearing. Because our heads resonate, the bones resonate, and what's coming out of your mouth is not always exactly what you hear, nor is it for instrumentalists. So if you want to understand.
And I say this all the time. So you must, in your technique, as an instrumentalist or a vocalist, you must learn to feel more than you hear. Because I can say this in my best southern accent. The ears are alive. They are alive. You will get in a room that is dead. You've been there before. You're in a room like there's no sound in here. You're like my head's wrapped in a scarf. If you're listening to a pitch and you're relying on the feedback from that room to give you that pitch, you're not going to get it that day. You're going to sing flat because you're not getting oral feedback from the room. If you learn to feel a sensation that's indicative of a good pitch, whether in the instrument or in the voice, you'll have something physical you can rely on that will assure you that the sound is good in tune and you're not going to suffer in the body when it's produced. You've got to find something that you can feel.
All right, so.
The tenor part's read down an octave from
Yeah,
what
you can play the upper or the lower pitches.
Okay.
The drum and bass stuff, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So, these guys have never played together in this exact grouping. Kind of like you guys, just not a lot of information has been delivered. We have kind of an odd instrumentation. We have a flute and a trumpet, 4 trombones, and a double bass. We're not going to address pitch, style, articulation, just what physically should be happening. So before they start reading this crew out, and everyone that's in the audience, you're welcome to solfege along with us, whatever part you would like. We're doing number 1. We are going to get a pitch center. Just look quickly at it first. All right. So here we go. We're straight foot. We're good. We're good. Everybody's playing. And you're welcome to solfege along. About how this translates to playing a string instrument.
Okay. Could I have each of you, as a group, sing your individual line? You do that part of the group. But I want you to do it on a T. T. In this shape. This shape.
T.
Okay. Let's do it.
Welcome to the festival.
Yeah. You get to do that because I don't.
Okay. We'll go fast.
I don't know, but I don't know how to use it.
T. Ready? Time out.
All right. Now this time what I want you to do is do the same T, that same vowel, E vowel, but this is what I want to call attention to. Speak an E for me. E.
E.
Now do it without using your lips or your jaw. E.
E.
Now notice when you speak Everybody do this. E. E. Don't use your lips, don't use your jaw. Do it again. E. Feel how the sides of your tongue touch your top teeth? It's making a U shape in there. That E vowel loves to have that air speed. Now, do the same thing. Disengage your lips and your jaw and sing the same thing, but feel it for that. Ready? And you make actually that's fine. Ready?
We should do that.
Huh? It doesn't matter. I just want to see this vowel shape. They can do it the same thing.
Right.
Ready? Now, the shape is better, but there's not enough air in the sound to keep it in tune. So here's what I want you to do. We have to establish your target. I want you to blow through your feet like this. Do it. Blow. You guys know how to blow. You can tell if you blow. All right. Now, this is what I want to do this time. Here's your teeth. Here's your hard palate. The arch of your hard palate. Blow again. There's your target. Here's your target. Feel where it's hitting hard palate. Good. Now sing and reproduce the sound and feel for that target. Do it again. Ready? And. Now the interesting thing is, some of them produced more sound, some of them didn't produce quite the right pitch. But here's the interesting thing. This is how you can train. If you got a group and they start putting sound into the instrument and the pitch comes out a little squirrely, then you know it's not in their oral memory. It's not necessarily a situation with the technique, it's the oral memory. Now let's change the vowel. Go. Let's do pull. Pull, pull, pull. Show. Wait. And. Good. Now what I want you to do is pick up all the instruments and put them to your face, and we're going to play it like you just sang it, and then we'll do the T. Ready?
Play.
Yeah, both the toes face. See how round the sound is? The pharyngeal cavity is taking on the shape of the sung vowel, and the timbre that comes out of the instrument matches that shape. So much of that is happening before it ever meets the mouthpiece. Now we're going to do yes, sir.
And when we go higher, usually the sound does that naturally.
Yes.
So we're fighting that. The higher we go, we're thinking more tall and more open.
And that's interesting you bring that up, because I tell my singers, as you guys go higher, the resonance is going to move this way. Your goal is not to work against the up, because it's going to do that naturally. You don't have to facilitate it, it's just going to happen. All right, now I want to do the T. This T. E. Hear what that felt like? Please sing it. What do you think? Play with this E thing, shall we? Listen to the timbre change.
I'm not here for go fast. 4 reasons.
E.
One.
Now, see how this slight timbre change? Now I'm going to do one more thing, and then I'm going to walk around behind them, and I'm going to speak the vowel out to them as they play, as an empathetic sound reinforcement for the shape they're making. Maybe?
Awesome.
All right.
Starting.
Yeah, T again. I do this often in master classes, but I don't walk around behind them. That would be weird. But what I'll do is I'll stand behind a singer, particularly belting, high belting, and I'll stand behind them and just go and blow while they sing. Because empathetically, they're hearing that sound and they have a feeling of the air rather than the placement of the note. And they will react similarly as they get accustomed to sort of listening to the sound I'm making. The shape will change based on the sound they hear coming up from me.
So commonalities. Everybody in the room answer good or bad. Tension. Open. Round. Pointed. Pointed. So, huge things in common. There's a high school band program here nearby, I won't name, And I walked in and they were doing vocal warm-ups. Me, me, mo, mo. Andrew has a very southern nasally accent. And how do you think they were singing that exercise? Me, me, mo, mo, me, me, mo, mo, me, me. And I was so excited to hear the band singing that. And he was fussing at them about pitch and you're not listening. And after she said, what do you think? I said, awesome. Go to the choir director or look it up or let's then address me, the vowel sound of it. I said, you'll be shocked at what happens to the quality of sound. And the ensemble already plays well. So glad to see them doing that. So, Dr. Cross is going to demonstrate a couple things that we do an instrumental that is slightly different than vocalists because you guys speak words. Once they have an obvious honor in their face, David vocally sings to his students. Why does he do that? Why do you do that?
To get them to use their body.
So much of what you see David doing, and we'll get to David in a second to talk about his own version of these things, just has to do with how your body works and how it reacts. You know, put your horn up, out you're about to play, and look at hands. There you go. What do you got? That's the same thing vocally, right? You can see tension. Can you play as look as non-tense as possible? Put the horn up. And relax. Dr. Cross talked about this earlier. It's not normal to hold something. Can you imagine if you're holding a tuba or a sousaphone? Or this thing is popping against your body. If it's taut long and there's tension that adds added to your body, it's going to affect the what? The sound. All right? So, because we don't speak words, the oral cavity is important. And we focus on ahs and ohs. Those are our vowel sounds that we really want to focus on. So now I'm going to ask them all to play as well as they can. And I really want you to focus on the openness. For David, that has to do with the quality of the bone. We'll talk about that in a second. And I just did what? Starts with the M? And I didn't go E-A or bo-do-ah. I gave you articulation I want and the vowel sound I want.
Hey Mark, may I bring up something?
Yes.
You guys that are sitting on the lower parts, I noticed something as we were sitting out here. That when you play, because you're looking down, the interesting thing is the lower voices you have to get, when your air pressure increases, it'll lift your soft palate and seal the nasal port. You get more air moving into the horn. However, if your hard palates are tilted down, and you, young man, have a rather wide soft palate, because I can tell by the width of your face, if your hard palate is tilted down and you start blowing, your soft palate's going to fall. Half that air is going through your nose, other half's coming out of your mouth. That'll affect pitch when you sing, and it'll affect pitch in the horn. The louder you play, it gets better because you're putting more air into the pharynx, so it seals the hole itself. But be aware that the level of your hard palate has a lot to do with how your soft palate lifts, and you don't have to move a facial muscle. If your hard palate and soft palate are level, the air pressure as it rises will lift it for you.
Something else we don't like to. So why stop them doing this? This isn't connected to their voice. It's not connected to their air.
The gesture, because we oftentimes, when we're nervous, get fixated on gestures that come from the limbs that are not in the core of the body. And in singing in particular, as you breathe in, what we see first are the eyes, not the mouth. And so the core of the body is connected to the emotion in the eyes.
Awesome. Curious, how many of you have ever seen modern day marching band, no, not college marching band, or drumming bugle corps, modern day stuff? Anybody? Anybody? No. Yes. Today, there's an outdoor activity where brass players are asked to do really wild, funky things with their body as they play. They have to play whole notes and kneel down at the same time and play. And then put this foot out. And then take this hand off the horn and do a gesture. And then turn their body. And the sound is not supposed to change. And they're trained through ballet. Yes. Big beefy dudes with beards are going, okay, great. How's my wrong mission? How was this? Maybe not. Yes, those of you that are in the activity. And it's this word core that becomes so important. so that all the work happened here and all this just responds, we make beautiful sounds. Could we go to bleep mid winner number 13? I know I have 1 minute.
Okay, carry on.
Can we just hum or play along? We'll just go right to it. I lied. Real quickly. David Pell.
Well, it's obviously we're further disconnected from our inner body with this. This is, gets in between all the things that you're talking about. But using the body is really important. A lot of times you see string players that play with just their arm and that sound. Now, if I use my body like this and use my legs, and as I do the bow, I do the weight transfer and free all that up. You hear more the belly of the bass as well, more the fundamental. So it's good for bass players maybe to learn how to swing golf ball. But if you take the bass away, what I'm doing is I'm doing this and making circles with my arm, like this. And every Colombian, a great violin pedagogue, said that the body is a system of springs. So every joint throughout the body must be free to move. So when I play and I do this circle, I push off my big toe. And I can even start a note. You'll probably see it. It's like that. And the note from the very beginning was there with a nice attack and a right sound. So I have to use my big toe. And if you can learn a movement, your muscles are made to learn movements. If I play like this, it's just if I'm lucky enough to do the right thing. And it's very hard to repeat. With this, I can do this.
That's why we dance to music. Our bodies are meant to move and music naturally. So when you think about the entire body engaged in music, it works better, more naturally.
Awesome. Let's play through this, and let's just make beauty of sound the important thing. Give us a syllable up, Parker.
Let's do this on the top.
All right, so vocalists on the top, so we're gonna play. And can we do in halftime? Cool. 2, ready. About quality of sound, making music without being overtly thoughty, overtly prepared. You get to the point as a musician that you're training, you can just, okay, here I go, I'm just going to perform. Our opening act yesterday, we're 3 people, 4 people that never played together before, and a 2-minute rehearsal, and performed beautifully. And so much was related to this idea of just our bodies, and knowing our bodies, and getting attention out of our bodies, and just making the music the thing. Dr. Parker, do you have some?
Just as you go through the sessions today, as you have thoughts, want to give feedback, if you were on the Pedagogy Style website on the Facebook page, or you want to post on social media, any of these thoughts, and it tends to start lovely discussions in the circle of friends, and this is how ideas and creativity are shared. So you guys getting nerdy on social media is kind of fun.
Ladies, again, thank you so much. Give my hand, please.
By the way, Q&A session at 1 o'clock in here. Bring all your nerdy questions or not so nerdy questions.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. If you have a second, we're going to stand back to if you're passing by the rest of the bag or whatever.
Let's do well last night. Fire alarm was a nice touch. A fire alarm. You can either go out by the junior mark or you can go out. If you walk down the sidewalk,